Another month, another comic haul. October 2019. Hey everyone, it's VM Campos, comic book fan. Welcome to another monthly comic book haul. These are the books that I picked up this month, that I found interesting, enjoyable, that I'm reading on the reg, or that I might think are gonna be a good spec later on. Here's my first book, Amazing Fantasy 15 number 1. No, I did not pay $500,000 for a copy of this. This is the facsimile recreation version, obviously here with the price of $3.99 and much better paper. So Marvel has reprinted, and then with a barcode too, Marvel has reprinted exactly Amazing Fantasy 15 before, but here's another one for the young whippersnappers that are going to go off and watch their superhero movies, go back and read the original book with the original ads. So many ads in this comic, all about becoming a strong guy, or learning how to draw pretty ladies, or selling grit. It's kind of interesting to see how comics have come a long way. Amazing cover art by Jack the King Kirby, interior art by Steve Ditko, and story by Stan Lee. Amazing. A more modern Spider-Man comic. Here we have Amazing Spider-Man number 832, an Absolute Carnage tie-in. I love this cover, it's pretty epic. This is an Otley cover. It's just so much kinetic action happening here. Spider-Man trying to save Norman Osborn from the Carnage symbiote. Whoa, very epic. Love that green contrasting background. I also picked up number 32. This is the Amazing Mary Jane variant. So they have Mary Jane Watson as a variant cover again. They did her a few years ago, but I'm not complaining. She's cool. So here we have the Mary Jane variant. Interior story starts some brand new Marvel 2099 shenanigans. I'm on board for that. Ghost Spider number 3, Legacy number 53. Honestly, I'm not loving this series anymore. They've changed it so much from the original. Gwen Stacy now mostly exists in in the 616 universe. She's part of the main Marvel continuity now instead of her own Earth 65. I don't know, I'm not enjoying that too much. Why don't they just leave her in her own dimension where they can really do amazing changes and mashups about famous characters of the 616 universe in the 65 universe. But I don't know how much longer I'm going to read this. After they had the original Amazing team and they went on for lots and lots of issues, then they rebooted it and that one was okay, and now they rebooted it again, number 3 again. I don't know, I'm not quite loving it. R.I.P. Spider-Gwen. Sorry, I mean Ghost Spider. Then I've got Spider-Man number 2. Now this is the second adjectiveless Spider-Man title. Way back in the 90s, 1991, Todd McFarlane worked on Spider-Man, which then was eventually renamed to Peter Parker Spider-Man to get the bad taste of the Clone Saga out of your mouth. But now this is the J.J. Abrams and Henry Abrams, Sarah Pichelli and Dave Stewart Spider-Man. This sort of logo has been used before, back in the 90s as well. And this is just another telling of a Spider-Man, of a young Spider-Man. It's fun, it's interesting. I thought that J.J. Abrams would put his magic touch of the Star Wars and Star Trek debacles on it, but no, it's coming out all right. This is issue number 2. Here's an issue that I got simply for the cover. I love this cover. This is an Amazing Mary Jane variant cover for Silver Surfer Black. This is a really interesting story. It's like so metaphysical and so psychedelic. This Silver Surfer book. The cover has nothing to do with the comic, but it's got everything to do with Mary Jane. This is an amazing David Nakayama cover. I just love it so much. Let's get a close-up here. Look at her beautiful smoky eye makeup. Please focus. And the like cool thick outlines. I just love the graphic design of it, and then the exploding color and so forth. And she's wearing like hilarious like go-go boots and a go-go dress in silver. And she's having a good old time. I just love that expression. This is a beautiful cover. It has nothing to do with the book inside, but I had to get it because of a Mary Jane variant. I love it. Speaking of Mary Jane, we've got her own solo series ever, The Amazing Mary Jane. I got one of the variant covers by Archie, and it's really cool. Archie did all of these different covers like in various decades, and so Archie's pretty amazing, but I do see that his faces kind of look similar a lot of times, unfortunately. Now the rest of the cover looks great. I wish she had kind of longer hair, but she's got this cool like spider motif. And this is basically the life of Mary Jane as an actress. And then there's fun, weird things happening, and the internal art, the interior art is amazing. I love it. It's not Archie, but the Lopez art in here is still very enjoyable. I'm on board for this series. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but here it is, issue number 1. Oh, Squirrel Girl, the only thing that will beat you is that your issues are about to end with number 50. Actually, not really 50. They're not counting legacy numbers because they already had issue 50 a few months ago, and they're going to have issue 50 again, but the non-legacy numbers. This is a really fun character. It's been very enjoyable over these last several years. If we just go with issue 50, this book's been published for at least 5 years. If we go with legacy numbers, it's over 60 something. This book is being published over 60 years. So this joke character from the 90s has really endured in the new millennium. I've enjoyed it so much with the Erica Henderson art and Ryan North story, and then she's doing Henderson is just doing the covers, but then we've got Derek Charm, and then as usual Rico Renzi. So I love this cover. The interior art is also cool. I think Derek Charm did his own style and did it well. Erica forever, but Charm ended up charming me. And I'm getting some of the feels seeing that Squirrel Girl is about to end. So here's issue number 49. The history of the Marvel Universe is required reading, or something like that. Here we have Mark Waid's History of the Marvel Universe. This is number 4 with Javier Rodriguez and Alvarado Lopez. So love this variant cover. A lot of cool action going on in it. I kind of feel like it's a connecting cover because I see someone's hand over here, but it's got a lot of the ladies of Marvel Comics. There's Punk Rock Storm, there's original Captain Marvel Carol Danvers, Fantastic Four, She-Hulk, early X-Men Kitty Pryde, Dazzler, original Dazzler. So this is like a beautiful book all about, oh, an Electro over here, and an early Rogue. This is a beautiful book about, and then the kids from Power Pack, hilarious. Anyway, this is a great book that's got the history of the Marvel Universe in with a lot of new art and classic art and prose and story, and Mark Waid's doing a great job defining this 80-year-old company. Well, if you count from the 60s when the Marvel new comics started. But this is defining the beautiful history of the Marvel Universe. So if you're a total Marvel head, you need to be reading this book. And then for something completely different, lastly, Crazy number 1, variant edition. What is this book? If you don't know, there was Mad Magazine, there was Cracked Magazine, and there was Crazy, Marvel's version of that sort of parody magazine. This is from the 70s. Somewhat related to Not Brand Ech, but this was Crazy, and they were on for a few years. And they brought it back, so this is maniacal mirth to mangle your mind. Crazy! And here we have, what's his name again? I'll put it up on the screen here. But he was the original host of the comic, just like Alfred E. Newman was for Mad and Sylvester P. Smythe for Cracked. I'm blanking on his name at the moment. It'll come to me. But no, he's not the actual host of the new Crazy. You'll have to see it to believe it when you check out the book yourself. Okay, let me tell you. It's Obnoxio! Obnoxio the Clown is back, and he is totally taking over Crazy. Now, is this like multiple issues or just a one-shot? I'm not quite sure. But it was fun and weird, and like, we need more humor comics. Everything doesn't have to be dark and gritty all the time. Let's put some humor back in comics. completely ignoring what I just said, here is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, The Death of Superman, #1. This book, I loved it. This is like an Elseworlds What If sort of comic that takes place right after Superman 75 back in 1992 with the death of Superman, after he and Doomsday went on an epic battle that killed them both. Yeah, right. This is a sort of a branching off of what if Lois Lane, overcome with grief and anger at the rest of the superheroes that couldn't save Superman and a world that was not good enough for him, she makes a deal with the Eradicator to gain all his powers, and she becomes as powerful as Superman. And she goes on a rampage throughout the world. First, as with all good intentions, to stop crime, to stop all of the worst supervillains in the world, to avenge, but she then lets the darkness overtake her, and she goes into a mad rampage that really sullies the reputation of the Man of Steel. This is a beautiful, tragic book, great art, great story. I just loved it so much. I'm glad I picked it up. This is by Loveness, Walker, Hennessy, Rapnud, and Kalish. Highly, highly recommend that you need to get this book just for the cover. It is amazing. And Lois's transformation into the dark superwoman is also beautiful and terrifying. Totally recommended. Record-breaking Spawn #301, cover by Todd McFarlane. So can you believe it? This is the longest running independent comic book in the world, now surpassing The Walking Dead, surpassing Cerebus, 301 issues. Very fascinating storyline, a big change in the direction of things, kind of a really meta cover, and very enjoyable. So art by McFarlane plus his usual stable of creators, Greg Capullo and such. And it's just a really cool book. Good starting point as well. There's a new plots that are coming out with this book, so it's a good time to jump in. You're just 27 years too late. Usagi Yojimbo, 35-year-old character, started a new series at IDW recently. He's issue #5, Stan Sakai cover. I love this cover. It's so kinetic. I love the blue tones contrasted with that green Komodo dragon sort of thing. Now, I do have to say that I kind of like the Stan Sakai art on Usagi Yojimbo a few years ago. This cover doesn't quite represent the interior art. The interior art's a little better, but still, I kind of like the older Usagi art. If you go back and read like the original Usagi Yojimbo, it was such cute art. I love that way more. But this story, this is The Hero Part 2 of 2. I like that Sakai is doing a long-running series, but with like short stories, so you can easily jump in. Just check what part that is. After the first issues of the Bunrak storyline, now we have The Hero, two stories. Beautiful tragic ending that you've just got to read. It's kind of like really sad. It's got the classic sadness in Japanese stories. There's a name for that. And great art, and I'm still kind of shocked that it's all in color. I'm so used to Usagi Yojimbo interior art in black and white. But then there's a cool like historical notes in the back that really educates you about ancient Japanese culture, so highly recommend it. And then my comic shop gave me for free the Usagi Yojimbo Comic Fest one-shot. This is a vintage Usagi story, colorized brand new for the new millennium. It's a mini comic, and then it's got, and also like a small little story by another creator, Stan Sakai's daughter, I think? So really cool free comic, thank you so much. Comics and Stuff, my local comic shop, and that's Usagi Yojimbo #5 from IDW. Moving over to Titan, I'm reading Tank Girl Forever. I love the Martin and Parson recent editions of this character. She's a character that's been around 30 years, since 1989, and she's been having lots of adventures in the last several years after 21st Century Tank Girl, and I just love this cartoony art. by Brett Parson. And here, this storyline has gone into more of a superhero tropes sort of thing. And we've got this cover. "You've got to stop, this is insane. You killed my friend, so now I'm going to kill your friend. Could this be the end of Subgirl? Well, she's died before, spoiler alert. So we'll see what happens in this. And again, I love this cartoony art. What's really cool also is that they really recreate old comic books. This cover is totally beat up, and even the interior art is printed on really bad newsprint on purpose. It looks gorgeous, but it's really interesting what they've done aesthetically. So check out Tank Girl Forever. This is issue number 7. Lastly, from Titan, Roman Dirge's Lenore is back. This is issue 1, the cover C. Now, I wasn't expecting this book at all, and I got it off the shelf, and I don't like sketch covers. I wanted to get the regular cover, but it was obviously sold out, so I had to settle for the sketch cover. I guess I'll draw my own Lenore here. And Roman Dirge's character Lenore has been around over 20 years. And then there's a new home over at Titan with interiors in full color. Oh my god, I'm tripping out on that because I always remember it in black and white grayscale. So this is the little dead girl. She comes back. It's weird. It's funny. It always kind of gave me vibes of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, but not as vicious and violent. So check it out if you kind of want to see something interesting and cute and scary. Roman Dirge's Lenore. Plus, I love his name. Moving over to more WTF stuff, here we have Archie vs. Predator, Volume 2, number 3 of 5. So this is interior art by Robert Hack, amazing. And then we've got Fitzpatrick and Morelli, plus DeCampi story. So after the Predator came to Riverdale and really wrecked things in Volume 1, now a whole clan of Predators is back, and some weird stuff is happening with different Archie continuities and dimensions and stuff. It's just so WTF. We have the Predators and the Predadogs are in here as well. I don't know if you're really gonna survive there, Vegas. But this has been a totally WTF series. Very violent, very interesting. This is 3 of 5, so check it out. Then we've got Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. So the she-devil with a sword and the scion of Draculon meet Archie's pals, Betty and Veronica, and they come to the Riverdale dimension to fight like a cult and like Dracula and stuff. This is number 6. They're taking a hiatus for a couple of months to continue the next storyline. Interior art is cool. Covers have been really fun and interesting. I usually get the Laura Braga art, but I wanted to get this one. The Cat Skaggs cover, which almost looks like a realistic cosplay sort of style. And it's got some great action and beautiful foreboding red background. And this comic has been a trip. Have you been reading the new Vampirella? It's been very enjoyable, a cool new storyline, more violent and sexy than I thought. And here, so I picked up Vampirella number 3 cosplay variant cover. So I'm always on the lookout for these because I marvel at the cosplayers that can pull off a very convincing costume here, although I do not remember that she's got a chain mail on her little bikini bottom there. But anyway, I'll forgive it. You probably didn't even notice that. But here, this cosplayer does a perfect job of recreating Vampirella's costume, what little there is of it. And the storyline is totally bonkers. Vampirella's with her therapist, recounting the events of the recent epic battles and stuff. And then the nun squad that shows up is like totally badass. Yeah, you've got to see it to believe it. This is cover E, cosplay cover for Vampirella, new series number 3. 50 years old and still looking great. More mashups, please. How about Rick and Morty and Dungeons & Dragons? This is Chapter 2, Painscape. So, in collaboration with Oni Press, Adult Swim, IDW, and Wizards of the Coast, those behind Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering, we have a new volume in the Rick and Morty D&D universe. This is just a really fun comic. I love to have these the D&D character sheets variant covers, because here we have Wizard Fighter Rick. He's got 64,000 experience points. Chaotic Neutral. The Sage. I don't think you're stupid. I know you are. Personality traits. Knowledge is the only thing I respect, at least until I figure out what you know, and then you're screwed. So really cool art on this. And here's like the official stats if you want to play as Wizard Fighter Rick. Rick and Morty versus Dungeons & Dragons, Volume 2, or Chapter 2, Painscape. Moving on to the prestige DC Black Label, here is Joker Killer Smile. Now, the main thing I wanted this for is the cover, and after reading the actual story, I was not really impressed by it. It's yet another therapist that thinks he can crack the code of the Joker's madness. Spoiler alert, he can't. But the cover, I love this cover. This is this is the Kari cover. This is a variant cover, and this is, I love it. It's Joker's doing, I guess, the Joaquin Phoenix put on a smile pose. And it's just this beautiful, let's get a close-up of like his evil eyes, bloodshot and everything. And just the artistry of it, I love this cover. Interior story, not that great. Interior art is good, but I wasn't loving the story, but I love this cover. Joker, Killer Smile. Book 1, Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Jordi Belair. Oh, Book 1, okay, I guess it's continuing. It felt like it was a self-contained thing, and I wasn't impressed, but maybe the next books will be a little better. We'll see. And lastly, Mad Magazine number 10. Okay, so after Mad Magazine rebooted, after 500 issues, here we've got number 10, December 2019. Now, there was big fanfare throughout all of the press, all of the mainstream media and everywhere, that Mad Magazine was ending after 65 years, 1955 to 2019, that they were ending asterisk original material. So I picked up these recent books. I had the number 1 that came out 10 months ago, and then I was picking up the recent ones, number 9. That was kind of like the one like, this is the final issue of Mad. But they're still going to publish Mad, just not as many original things. This one does have original content, but they're gonna segue to reprints and other things, I suppose, so that's still kind of sad, because Mad Magazine influenced a generation, multiple generations of satirists, but the changing face of comedy and anti-comedy and politics has just rendered it a bit moot, even though they have been doing some really epic, edgy political stuff recently. They are continuing that. There's a lot of skewering of Trump, which he deserves it, of course. And this is an American institution. It should be enshrined right next to the Constitution of the United States. Look at that hilarious cockroach and toilet paper and everything. Max Korn was here. Oh, they're still bringing back that trope A. What me worry? And this does the It Volume 2 or Chapter 2 parody. Our price, $5.99 cheap. I remember when these were so affordable, $5.99. I guess magazine sized, maybe it's affordable, but I don't know about that. Anyway, Mad Magazine, classic stuff. So there you go, those were my pulls for this week. I got some magazines, I got some cool cosplay stuff, I got some mashups that'll really make you go WTF, I got some resurrections of things, continuations of comics, record-breaking stuff, amazing stories that you didn't really expect, weird, crazy humor things, Marvel history, the second to last or penultimate comic books in a series, the beginnings of a new comic series, beautiful comic covers to put on the wall, Spider-Man stuff that always warms my heart, and the very first Spider-Man comic that still makes me cry all these years later, poor Uncle Ben. What do you think about my poll? See anything that you like? Tell me what you got down on the comments below. What should I be picking up? Tell me all about it down there. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. That really is the best way to get my content out. If you think about going over to my Patreon, patreon.com/vmcampos, you'll get access to a lot of free stuff if you simply follow. If you go to the $1 tier, you'll get access to exclusive stuff like my new series on speculator comic books and hot picks and such. If you go to the $2 tier, I will actually mail you some comics from my curated collection. What a deal. This has been VM Campos, and I'll see you next month.